What's up, everybody? My name is Brad, and welcome to week 15 of the book report, where I check in every week to let you all know what I've been reading, what I'm currently reading, and what I'm maybe planning to read next. But what I'm planning to read next, that's always going to switch up and vary. I'm in very much of a reading mood this year. So what I say in the video might not actually be what I end up reading next. But we're on Monday already. I didn't get to film yesterday. We're behind, so we're going to go ahead and dive right into it. So what did I finish this week? So I finished up one book. I finished The Loop by Jeremy Robert Johnson. This book was okay. I didn't love it or enjoy it as much as I was hoping to going into it. It's still good. Don't get me wrong. Just the pace was a little too fast for me for what happened. I felt like it went from 0 to 60 really fast. And for me personally, I would have liked some more kind of build up before just, balls to the wall, shit hits the fan and everything in the book. It is a sci-fi horror blend. We're in this small town in Oregon, and there's all these kind of big biotech companies that have come and moved here for some odd reason. There's conspiracy theories and stuff in the book. It starts out with this excerpt from a conspiracy theory podcast, which I thought was cool. I wish there was more kind of those excerpts from that podcast. I think it was called The Night Stalker. But something's going on in town. It opens up on a scene where a teenager attacks a teacher, and it goes on from there. I don't want to spoil anything, give anything away. But after that initial opening scene, the kids go to this party, and then everything just kind of escalates super quick after that. And for me, I wanted some more build up. The sci-fi kind of elements were pretty cool. They kind of geared towards the absurd at the end, and the exclamation for what was going on. I didn't fully buy it. But again, that's just me in my opinion. There's lots of violence in here, and gore and stuff. And I felt like it really towards the end leaned way more into horror than it did sci-fi. One of the blurbs on the back, I talked about it last week. It says it's pretty much Stranger Things meets Rogue One. I can definitely see the Stranger Things tie-in connection where they're comparing it to that. Rogue One, I didn't actually get until this morning what I think they're comparing it to Rogue One, which is a bit of a stretch in my opinion. But yeah, overall it was pretty enjoyable. A lot more kind of plot focused than character driven, I thought. Lots of violence and gore, which I always enjoy. Some cool kills and stuff in here. I did really enjoy the ending. I don't want to say what that is. But the last page, what happens at the end, I did like how it ended. But the character motivations for, I guess, accepting their fate, accepting their destiny, I also didn't quite buy. I wouldn't have done that if I was in that situation, so I didn't really quite buy them just kind of accepting their fate. But, what their fate ended up being at the very end, I did like how it ended. That was a cool way to end this book. But this is The Loop by Jeremy Robert Johnson. If you're into sci-fi and horror, that kind of blend, mix and match up, check this one out. I thought it was good. I didn't love it. And going in, I was hoping it would have been better because it sounded really cool, but it's not bad. It was enjoyable, just not as good as I hoped it to be, if that makes any sort of sense. So that's the only thing I finished up reading. So what I'm currently reading, I mentioned this briefly because I really didn't make any progress. The kids were on spring break this past week, so I didn't really listen to anything on audiobook, but I'm still listening to The Two Towers on audiobook. I did start it back today on Monday on the way back home from dropping the kids off to school. I'm only an hour into it, right where Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli first meet the Rohirrim, the Riders of Rohan. That's where I'm at. I didn't really make any progress from last week, maybe 20 minutes or so. So I'm still working on that. And then I also started Winter's Bone by Daniel Woodrell. This is the Spinebreakers Book Club pick for the second quarter of this year. I'm a little over halfway done. I would have liked to have gotten further along, but again, the kids were on spring break, so I didn't have a ton of reading time last week. But I'm really digging this one. It's a short book. It's under 200 pages. It's 190 pages or so. But this book does, the author does an excellent job of really conveying the place, the location, the environment, the atmosphere, where we are located. And as I've grown older and getting more into books, I feel like that's an aspect of books that I really enjoy, where they're able to convey depth, this really in-depth sense of place. Like David Joy does it well. Um, Andy Davidson does it great. A book I read earlier this year, Dennis Lehane really did that well with Boston and South Boston. I've never been to Boston, but reading that book, I felt like I could, I felt like I've been there before. And that's doing the same thing here with the Ozarks. Now, this is set like, I don't think it says it's in Missouri, but at one point they go right over the line into Arkansas. So I think it's right on the Missouri-Arkansas line. And I'm loving this sense of place in this book and that Daniel Woodrell is able to convey. The characters are great as well. I'm loving the character work. Honestly, like plot-wise, really not much has happened. I'm 106 pages into it. I'm at the beginning of the book. I think that's how her name is pronounced. That's how I'm pronouncing it, Ree. She finds out basically what it says on the back of the book, that her dad needs to show up for this court date. If he doesn't, they're going to lose their house and their property, because he kind of put that up as collateral. And she's gone out to some different places to search for her dad, see if she can bring him to court. And that's really all that's happened in the first 100 pages. But I'm really, really enjoying it. The characters are great. Like I said, the sense of place is excellent. And I feel like that's a aspect of books that I really enjoy. If you have great characters, they can just sit in an area and describe the environment, and really nothing can happen plot wise, and I still probably enjoy what's going on. Not saying that there's nothing happening, but plot not ton. Great characters, great sense of place. I'm really enjoying Winter's Bone so far. I definitely want to check out the movie once I'm done with this one. I would love to finish this one up today. We'll see if that actually happens or not. I don't know. That would be my goal. Finish it up. Today's Monday when I'm filming this. The video will be out later today. Would like to finish up Winter's Bone sometime later today. Really digging it so far. So that's all I'm currently reading. So what am I planning to read next? So next month in May, if I'm not mistaken, Stephen King's newest book comes out sometime. I think I've got it pre-ordered. I don't know when it comes out. I think it's in May. I think it's called Never Flinch, if I'm not mistaken. And it is a Holly Gibney story. I don't know how much she's in it, but I know she's in the story at least somewhat. I'm not caught up on her story as of yet. I still need to read his latest book, which is just called Holly. So I'm going to be planning to read this one. I don't know if it'll be next, but sometime soon, hopefully before Never Flinch comes out, because I do want to get caught up on Holly's story so I can read Never Flinch. I don't want that to spoil, maybe anything from this book. This book I've heard mixed things about. Some people really like it. Some people not so much. Some people don't like the character of Holly Gibney at all and read it and didn't like it, which that kind of makes sense. If you don't like Holly, you're probably not going to like this book. But I've also heard there's a lot of politics and stuff in here, that Stephen King's kind of voicing his own opinion through the characters, which is completely fine, but he kind of beats a dead horse with it, on and on and on. And Stephen King's always been political. People say, oh, he's too political in this book. But he's always been political, going back to his earliest books too. So I don't have an issue with that, but beating a dead horse, I think, would get on my nerves, regardless of what your political opinion is. So we'll see. I am looking forward to Holly. I do like Holly as a character throughout the Bill Hodges trilogy. She was in The Outsider, and then she's got a standalone, not short story, but I guess novella in If It Bleeds. I think hers is the If It Bleeds story. So I've liked her story so far. Stephen King seems to really enjoy writing about her. So I am looking forward to this one, but going in with tempered expectations based on what I've heard about the book. But this is Holly by Stephen King. I don't know if it'll be next, but hopefully sometime soon, because I do want to read it before Never Flinch comes out, I believe sometime in May. And then the other two books I'll just briefly mention, I would like to finish up or start and read in April. I mentioned them either in last week or week before last. Stephen Graham Jones, The Buffalo Hunter. I would like to read this one. I've heard excellent things about this one. It's about vampires, which I'm a huge vampire fan, so I want to definitely check that one out. And then also Circe by Madeline Miller. This is the community group read along for my local library. I'm Not sure how many of the events they're still going to do. I mentioned last week we had some flooding. Part of the library did flood. They still don't have power. All the books are okay, but like the parking garage level underneath flooded and mess up their electrical and stuff. They still don't have power. They're supposed to reopen this coming Thursday. So I'm not sure what their events are planned for this, but I still would like to read this for the month of April. It's a bit longer too. It's just a little less than 400 pages. So I'd love to get this, Buffalo Hunter, and maybe Holly all squeezed in April. See if we can do that. That's Cersei by Madeline Miller. And other than that, I think that's about it. I think that's all I've got for you guys today. As always, let me know what you all have been reading down in the comments below. If you've read anything excellent, let me know. And also, if you've read anything that I've talked about, let me know what you thought about that as well. But I appreciate you all hanging out, spending your time with me today. Again, my name is Brad, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.